Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the Knife Center, and it's our favorite time of the week. There's cool new knives in front of me, some of the coolest that have just hit our shelves, so let's check them out. All right, before we get to the first knife this week, I have a piece of literature to share with you. Maybe that's too strong a word.
It reminds me of literature class.
The newest edition of the Knife Center printed catalog is here. Biggest one yet. This thing is humongous. More than 800 brands. How many pages does this have? Honestly, like over 2,400 pages filled with knives. Stuff in here that you don't even find on our website, actually. And these things are, quite frankly, just a lot of fun to leaf through. Idly looking through, like, let's open it up, see what cool we can find right off the bat. Look, hey, I like Moras. Everyone likes Moras. There's Moras on the page right there. Mora. That's a Mora. Kershaw's. Everyone likes Kershaw's. Canseps. Everything. Like, there's so much stuff in here. Now, as you can tell by the way this sounds on the table, this is heavy. As such, we don't give these away for free. These are running just under 20 bucks right now. And honestly, that kind of just barely covers our cost of getting these produced and sent out to you folks. So if you're interested, these make really cool references and really cool things to just, sit on the toilet and leaf through. People do that nowadays. Anyway, check those out. They are really a lot of fun to leaf through and not really a stocking stuffer this time of year because might pull your mantelpiece down.
Those would be some big shoes to fill.
Indeed. Indeed. But check them out. $19.95 gets them sent to your door. Next up, the first knife. And it was released just this past week. The Knafs Lander 2, the latest design from Ben Peterson, is now in stock. We have the two kind of standard launch colors for Ben's designs. You've got the blacked out version with black G10 and a black blade. In this case, it's a black stonewash, and the blue G10 with uncoated blade. In this case, it is a stonewash. Specs on this guy: about 130 bucks gets you an S35 VN blade, G10 handles with a crossbar lock, and this is made for Knafs by Kaiser. So you get their clutch lock, which means you can actually adjust the spring tension behind this crossbar to suit your preferences. That said, you don't need to touch it to get really good action. Right out of the box, they're pretty fantastic to flick. The other thing you get is fast changeable handle scales here. You don't have to take the or unscrew the pivot at all to change the scales. There's not a whole lot of aftermarket stuff for it out there yet, but just like with the original Lander, we're going to see stuff popping up real soon, both from professional companies as well as individual like small sellers, and you can do it yourself as well because the CAD files for these scales are available direct from Knafs, so you can get those for no cost and make your own set of scales if you want. We've got a deep carry pocket clip here on the back side, and it is reversible. This whole knife is a very good option for right or left-handed use. We've got flush mounted screws and a nice pocket that the edge of the clip sits in, so it's a very clean experience going back into the pocket. And again, on the subject of cleanliness, you've got a metal filler tab here on the front to hide away the pocket and screw holes for the reversible nature. But really cool to see that being an option for everyone, basically, right there. Some of the nice things about this design, it kind of reminds me a little bit of like the classic Kephart fixed blade, which has overall a fairly simple profile, but there's some refinement to it that's not immediately apparent at first glance, but when you get it into your hands, you really start to feel it. The handle is going to fit all kinds of different hand sizes thanks to its neutral nature, and the 3¼ inch blade with almost a spear point profile to its drop point. Not only is this going to make a great everyday carry folder, but for something you want to take out into the woods, take out camping, that sort of thing, not a bad option at all. And I like the grind here too. It's a flat grind, that is a little bit stouter here at the back and gets a little slicier out towards the belly near the tip. Overall, just some really cool, fine little details. And last but not least, I haven't tried. Can we front flip this?
Someone can.
Someone can. Oh, I can slow roll it. So there you go. I can't really flick it, but you can do a slow roll thumb open if you wish, from the spine, I should say. So there you go. Check them out. Lander 2, now in stock. We've also got the loaded tool burrito, which you've probably seen the tool burrito from Knafs before. Now you can get it filled with a bunch of knife maintenance goodies as well. So we'll leave a link to both of those down in the comments. Oh shoot, before I get into the next one, I had a point to make. So think not too long ago, just last year, for about this price, maybe about $120, $10 less than this, you could get the Kaiser Drop Bear, which had 154 cm blade steel, a 1/4 inch less of it in length, and aluminum handles. For 10 bucks more, you get a longer blade, more premium steel, construction by Kaiser. You don't get the aluminum handle scales, but you could upgrade it later, probably, if you wanted that. In a way, this is more knife for barely any more money than something like the Drop Bear, which is still a great knife and was a fantastic release last year. So that sits at a pretty good price. However, $130 is still going to be a lot for some folks out there. Something that offers some similar experiences, this new CJRB with their first crossbar lock. This is called the Hectare, and the price on this is just under $48 right now, and that's pretty impressive. When you consider how good it feels in the hand, it is quite impressive. The blade here is about 3 1/8 of an inch long, and you've got RPM 9 powder metallurgy steel. Very impressive at a sub $50 price point, and pretty good edge retention to go along with it. Also, the handles are G10. This is the kind of bog standard black version, but there's actually some really bright colors available. Maybe I should have grabbed one of those. You got like a neon yellow, a very bright green, and a pink option as well right now, which is pretty fun. Deep carry pocket clip with flush head screws, not pocketed, but still very little bit sitting above the scale. Very, very easy experience going back into the pocket. Handles about 3 1/2 finger grip for my slightly larger than average hands if I'm holding it back here. If you do have smaller fingers, you might be able to choke up and get a finger behind the edge in this non-choil area, but that's a possibility. Here's what we really want to know about that. Let's talk about the action. Ceramic ball bearings, free floating, excellent. Yeah, very, very good. Fully ambidextrous here too. The pocket clip's reversible. You've got that thumb cutout or finger cutout if you'd rather open it that way. Geometry on this is great. You got thin steel, a high flat grind, very slicey experience overall. Very, very good price on these. For what you're getting here, very impressive. Next up, let's bump up to CJRB's parent company, ArtisanCutlery, with the Boa, a frame lock front flipper for about $214 right now. 3.1, about the same length, about 3 1/8 inch of S35 VN here. You've got the harpoon point here, maybe a saber height flat grind. We'll go ahead and call it that. And really awesome jigged titanium handles. Look at all of that machine time going into that. Really cool. Let us try, I have not yet, to front flip it. Hey, that one was quite easy. It's got a little bit of that top curl on the front flipper, which generally makes them a little easier for me to use, so I appreciate that. You've got thumb studs and a blade cutout as well, so you've got plenty of opening options if that is not your thing. So very, very nice. Really good shape for everyday carry. Might not be the sliciest thing in the world, but it's not a chunk by any stretch of the imagination, and yet it feels solid. Very cool. Very high fit and finish. Artisan Cutlery's premium stuff is always very good. I've got another one here, the Mini Xcellerator. We saw the Xcellerator debut earlier this year, a Mike Snowdy design, with nearly a 4-inch blade. The Mini is a 3 1/4 inch bladed version of the same knife. So you've still, even though it's a Mini, got plenty of blade to work with right here. About $190 for this version, which features frag milled titanium and S90V blade steel. Really, really high edge retention with that. I should also mention that believe we still have some in stock. We have some in stock of the standard size version in this configuration. $10 more. We'll get you a 3.86-inch S90V blades, almost at that 4-inch mark. So once those are out, however, they will be out. This is really cool. One of the things that can happen when you shrink a handle down without changing the handle configuration is sometimes it might not work quite as well at the smaller size. And the way that shakes out here on this knife, I think, is going to depend on your exact hand size. There are a few ways I can hold this that feel perfectly natural, but if I wanted to get, yeah, actually, I was about to say it's not quite working, but it kind of is though. So if I put my index finger here, rather than in this aggressive, finger cutout here behind it, I can actually get a pretty decent gorilla grip on the knife. Most of the grip strength is coming from my thumb and forefinger, not the back two fingers, however. That actually works pretty well, or I can choke back and treat it kind of like a 3.5 finger handle, and that works surprisingly well too, a little better than I thought it was going to. And I can use that for more reach or more precise pointing, shall we say. Let's check out the action. We've got a frame lock, we've got ball bearings in the pivot, you've got that nice drop shut action as you saw. We can reverse flick it, no problem at all. Let's try a standard open. Actually, the reverse flick works a little bit better for me. I'm kind of hitting the lock bar a little bit with my fingers as I'm trying to do a standard open. It's pretty sweet. It's one of my favorite knives of this year, quite genuinely, and having a mini version now as well, it's pretty neat. But again, $190 is still a good chunk of money. If you want something with this kind of style, CJRB is now offering something for you too. This is the Frack. And you're not getting titanium, you're getting stainless steel here instead, but you're still getting that frag milling. You're not getting S90V, but you are getting RPM 9. Almost 4 inches of it with this Frack, and the price is like $67. That is very cool and a very cool price. Despite it being a stainless steel handle, it could have come across being very heavy, very bulky. And thankfully, they milled away some interior pockets quite aggressively on both sides of the handle to remove some of that weight and make it a lot more easy to manage. Check out that button lock action. Very nice. When you hold that button down, it will do that swinging action that we all know and love. Reverse flick works great. Let's see, blade length, like I said, is about 3.9. Sharpened edge is a little bit less, obviously, because you've got the finger choil there for choking up. The geometry is pretty good, not too thick, not too thin. High flat grind, kind of a nice swooping line to the top of that plunge line there, and a pretty great shape for overall utility for a big knife. I like that. Deep carry pocket clip. Not quite flush head screws and not quite pocketed, but again, nothing really to worry about there. It is reversible too, which is nice because a button lock is very easily used in either hand, so that is always appreciated. Man, this is actually really impressive for a $67 knife. For about $56, you can get similar or this same knife with G10 handles instead. If you want to save a little bit of money, save a little bit of weight too, actually. Oh, sorry, I take that back. Steel handles at that $57 price point, or sorry, $56 price point, just without the frag texture going on. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And it's cool to see them doing these, more affordable versions, because these are also available in titanium handles for about $175 as well. All right, next up from CJRB, we have a Ferrum Forge collaboration, if you couldn't tell already from the profile. This is called the Space Cowboy. 3-inch blade, button lock, RPM 9 steel, G10 handles, and that deep carry pocket clip right there. $48 for this bad boy. Fit and finish is everything we know and love from CJRB in this price point, which is to say quite good and quite above its price range would suggest. Button lock, very nice. You got a flipper tab on this bad boy, or Space Cowboy. So you've got really nice action too. Yeah, just everything you would expect if you've handled any of CJRB's button locks, such as the Pyrite. Actually, come to think of it, this offers, all right, well, we say a 3-inch blade, but let's see does it actually come in? Yeah, just under that 3-inch mark. And for just a couple bucks less. than the Pyrite, which has been an incredibly successful knife from CJRB. And this is you can kind of think of this almost as a flipper option or flipper alternative to the Pyrite. That's pretty cool. It's even more compact closed up too. I mean, yeah, these proportions are pretty sweet. No. I'm appreciating this more in real time as you're watching, or as we're filming this video. Let's move on, shall we? Another button lock from Bestech Knives. Now this is called the Glok, G-L-O-C. 68 bucks for this. You got a 3.5-inch blade, 14C28N steel. Really excellent stuff. Fine-grained, stainless, very tough, and the toughness is kind of front and center in this particular blade geometry, I think, without sacrificing slicing utility, though, I will say that. It's actually hard for me to tell you exactly what the spine thickness is because the only place to measure it, actually, measure it from about right there. What's that look like? Is that about 1/8 of an inch? Let's see. According to our spec sheet, yes it is. There we go. Micrometers didn't fail me today. But the reason I say it's a little hard to assess is you've got a full-length swedge on both sides of the spine here. Eliminates a little bit of drag right there in addition to looking pretty cool. High flat grind, and on the bellied section here towards the tip, you can see we've got compound grinds here for a more stout geometry right there. So your cutting is going to be more efficient here back along the straight edge, but if you're using that bellied section, it won't be quite as slicey, but it will be more robust if you're kind of pushing around and digging with that tip. You're going to be able to withstand a little bit harder use with it. The handles are G10, flare out quite widely, and gives you a pretty wide handle to hold on to, which is quite nice, including supporting the grip strength from the back half of your hand for a real solid hold, and being very narrow at the front for that fine control with the grip to back it up. Pretty nice. Single position deep carry pocket clip here, pocketed with flush screws. So kind of a shame because the button lock, as mentioned, is something that will work very well for lefties too, but the clip is not movable in this case. That action is quite nice. Really free floating. You've also got a thumb plate here for opening. I will say, however, in trying to get like a typical snap, like a flicky position, is a little trickier. You don't have a super strong detent with this button lock, so if you are going to use the thumb stud, it helps to get it just a little bit of wrist in conjunction with it. You're not really like going to build up with that detent and snap it shut. And even if you could, just the way the handle is shaped to me is not quite conducive for that. But you can do that all day long. Check them out, a few different colors, of course, as is typical, in addition to a couple different blade finishes you can choose from. Next up, let's go premium again. ZT has rolled out another of their classic knives with MagnaCut steel, and we haven't talked about MagnaCut yet today, so it is tough, it holds an edge a long time, and it is very stainless in a way that pretty much no other steel can combine all three of those things together in one package. So that's very cool. Now available on the 452, a Dmitry Sinkovich design. 304 bucks, a 4.1-inch blade, high flat grind, almost a full-length swedge, enough thickness to the steel that you've got extra strength there, but mostly thanks to that swedge, removing that friction along the spine, it's a little more efficient than its generally slightly thicker blade stock would suggest otherwise. Handle scales are black and blue carbon fiber. I almost said G10. Very cool look. Plenty of handle length. Even if you have slightly larger than average hands, you can fit, or I can fit in the standard prescribed grip section quite easily, and I can choke back a little further onto that pommel section if need be. Titanium for the back with a typical ZT strong frame lock, ball bearings in the pivot, snappy action. It's everything the 452 has always been, just better. Arguably better. Better is a subjective term, but certainly with a more highly desirable steel right now. All right, how about a fixed blade? How about a few fixed blades? We're gonna start with the HEST 6 from DPX. Here it is. It's basically a larger version of the Heft 4. 6-inch blade right here. S35 VN steel, stone washed finished, high saber grind with a flat geometry, nice long swedge, very versatile blade. whether your needs revolve around combat operations or surviving outdoors or just camping or having fun with a big knife in the woods or whatever wilderness you prefer to inhabit. This is going to be a pretty sweet blade for doing it. S35 VN, not going to be as tough as something like MagnaCut, but it's pretty darn tough. Certainly adequately tough for most of those tasks, and pretty good edge retention as well. You've got G10 for the handles with some finger grooves here. As for my personal hand size, they fit pretty well. Your mileage may vary a little bit, of course, but it feels pretty good despite having any lack of contour either. Really nice. This is a full tang knife. There are spaces inside if you wanted to stash like gear inside of it. I don't typically recommend that sort of thing, but it is something that this knife has, so I will mention it. Protruding tang there at the back with essentially a pry bar section built in. You can also strike with it, I think. And none of it's really crisp enough for striking a fire steel, but you might be able to mod it. But for striking things or thumping on things, it's certainly going to work. I dig this shape, man. That's working really well for me. Let's check out the sheath real quick. Here it is. It is Kydex. I should mention that this knife is made for DPX by White River Knife and Tool, one of the more underrated American knife manufacturers in my opinion. They do a phenomenal job. Here is the Kydex sheath. It comes with a Kydex belt loop with J-style retention there at the back, so you could slip it on or off the belt easily when you want it to, or easily when you want to do that, but you have a little bit more peace of mind from it sliding off the belt thanks to that retention point right there. Check them out. Did I mention the price? I did not. $355 for this. You can also, for about 10 bucks more, get one with a black coated blade and an OD green or a different colored G10 handle. Next up, an even bigger, beefier fixed blade dropping today. Work Tough Gear Puzon Wilderness Bowie 7. Smaller version of the original PWB 9. 7.5 inch blade on this big clip point profile. SK85 steel especially brings some good toughness, especially at the price for such a large hunk of knife. Coming in about 199 bucks right now, and several different finish options for you to take a look at the link below. Obviously, this is not going to be as much of a chopper as the PWB 9, but you could still get some decent swings in with this, I would say. Theoretically, you could choke back a little bit onto this big flare at the back, but this section might kind of dig in a little bit if you're doing that for any prolonged period. So it's really, in my opinion at least, main grip section is where it's at for that type of use, but it moves pretty decently. Yes, it's heavy. It's not a super light, super nimble knife, but it doesn't feel like it's getting in its own way too much. So if you want something like a larger knife to take outdoors into the wilderness, as the name would suggest, like as your big, mean survival knife, this could be a pretty good option because you'll still be able to pull off the smaller stuff when you need to. It actually balances out pretty well when I choke up just a little bit. I'm digging that. The blade itself, like I said, you could do some light chopping, light to maybe even medium chopping perhaps with it. You've got enough meat there to grab on two-handed and do draw knife stuff. You've got enough thickness and strength to baton wood with it. I mean, it's really gonna work quite well. The G10 handles are nice and smooth. They feel pretty darn good in the hands as well. You've got a forward lanyard point here, which again, not really too much of a chopper, but that could help you a little bit, give you more confidence in swinging. You could swing a little bit harder perhaps when using the lanyard. This is one detail I really like here. The spine itself is crisp enough to strike a fire steel very easily, or scrape bark, scrape tinder, that sort of thing. But to make it more comfortable in just your everyday cutting, the edges where your thumb might push on it are chamfered, so you don't get that kind of crisp edge underneath your thumb if you're pushing into a cut. Really, really nice consideration. The sheath is Kydex, as is typical with your Work Tough stuff. Comes with a belt attachment as well. Overall, it's just really nice. Convex edge, really highly refined, ready to go right out of the box, ready to take into the wilderness right away. Next up, let's take a look at another knife made by White River Knife and Tool. This time made for ESEE. the new Sencillo. You've seen this knife in its A2 steel version a few weeks ago. The MagnaCut version is now in stock, $179 or just under $180 for this knife. And length is about 3 inches. The steel is MagnaCut, as we talked about before, and it is nice and thin with a full flat grind. This is a great slicing profile all around. Decent for EDC, I would say, but first and foremost, this feels like a great small hunting knife. It's got the belly you want, it's got the geometry you want for those nice, efficient slices. You've got a very neutral handle here, burlap micarta, which looks good and feels great in the hand. It's just that great egg shape, essentially, that no matter what your hand size, you should find pretty accommodating. Fit and finish is stellar. The materials are quite good. Price is even pretty reasonable for what you're getting. And the sheath is, again, Kydex. Like the DPX, it also has a J-style retention to the Kydex belt loop, pretty wide Kydex belt loop on this particular one. This is an awesome package, and of course it's going to carry ESEE's lifetime no questions asked warranty, just like anything else they do, just like any of the Rowan made fixed blades in their lineup. It's deft, it's ready to slice, it's available now. Speaking of deft and ready to slice, this one is pretty cool. This is an RMJ, but it's very different from most things in the RMJ lineup. And the reason for that is this is actually a collaboration with Osprey Knife and Tool. This is the Osprey 9, the Adventure Kitchen Fixed Blade. And I love it. Let's be honest, this is like made for me. Price on it is about $280. It's made in the USA, 4.5-inch blade of 14C 28N. So a very tough, a very good kitchen knife steel to begin with. Good outdoor steel as well. I wouldn't really recommend going batoning wood with this, however, because this is some very thin blade stock. This is built for throwing in your camp cooking box, overlanders, even hikers really would really appreciate this, but any kind of camp cooking, or have fun with it in your home kitchen as well. Look at this blade shape, about 4.5 inches long, kind of a K-tipped petty knife or a K-tipped station knife. Really, really sweet. The way it feels on a cutting board is very gentle. It doesn't really clunk. It's not a perfectly smooth rock, but it's very, very well considered and not nearly as clunky as some of the big German stuff out there. Really precise on the push cuts as well. Just really sweet. The handles are bolted on G10. A couple different colors can be had. Really nice shape. You're not really generally gripping a kitchen knife like so. Maybe if you're pushing through a cheese. Thomas, it's a cheese knife.
It's a cheese knife.
If you're pushing through a big block of cheese or something like that, yeah, sure. But more importantly, nice bevel here for the pinch grip and just enough clearance, I would say, for your knuckles, unless you've got some really big, huge knuckles. You can get there, do the cutting board stuff, do the push cuts without getting in the way, and it is very nimble. It's just ready to move like that. Comes with a sheath as well, so you can literally quite easily throw it in a camp cooking box if you want. It is Kydex, comes with a metal clip there with a J-style hook. Dare I say this could be a pocket fixed blade? No, that's too much sticking out from the pocket to be a pocket fixed blade. But you could carry this inside the waistband if you're a cook on the go, so to speak. And it would certainly prove useful in a last-ditch scenario if you needed something for that. Not that this is a self-defense knife, I would never claim otherwise, but you could carry it as one, and it probably would stay mostly out of its own way doing it. Maybe a little bulky, but you let me know what you folks think out there. If you are one who carries a knife like that, what do you think? A little too big or just right? Next up, Maserin. We've got the 372G Daga, D-A-G-A flipper. $230 for this. You got a 3.25-inch L-Max blade. Dagger style grind, although it's more abrupt here on the bottom and essentially a bigger swedge on the back because it's not sharpened on the back edge, but you've got that L-Max steel for really nice performance. Crown spine here where there is some spine left. As you get out there towards the swedged portion, I guess it's technically crowned, but you're seeing just a sliver of it anyway. Backside, we've got a titanium frame lock, nicely rounded. Check out, you can see the contour right there. Going to make it very comfortable in the hand. Front side, gold fat carbon handle scales, or handle scale. Or actually, it's not a scale because it's not scaling any liner. It's just a solid piece right there. There you go. Proper terminology is proper. Fold it up, very, very subtle, very completely out of the way, except for just the flipper tab sticking out from the top here at the back. Does that make it difficult to use? No, because I accidentally moved it there without even trying. So yes, it is quite easy to use when you are ready to deploy that blade. Really nice. Some really nice details here too, like that front pivot section. I mean, it's essentially a big hex shape, or a big Torx shape, I should say, not hex. But you're gonna need a different size Torx driver there on the back. Really cool details. No pocket clip, however. As such, it comes with a leather pocket slip. That is going to be your carry method. So you carry it kind of like a classic slip joint, but you've got frame locking security to back it up. Keeping the highly stylish things going, because that is a highly stylish knife. New James brand version of the Carter with rose gold finishing going on. $159 for this. You've got the same specs as the standard Carter. 2 3/4 inch blade, VG10 blade steel, ambidextrous crossbar lock, reversible pocket clip. Very nice action, very clean shape overall, very clean construction, not a whole lot of extraneous screws. And the rose gold kind of finish here really elevates that to kind of a more luxury feeling item, quite honestly. You've got the stone washed finish shining through the rose gold on the blade. So everything still has that metallic sheen. It's not like a dull finish on the blade. It is shiny, it is quite beautiful. And it feels quite good as well. Very nice size for smaller everyday carry knife. Standard versions of this knife come in at, what is the price on those nowadays? $159. So there's not even an upcharge for this fancier finish. Let me just make sure I'm not missing. Okay, $149 is the least expensive versions of it, with just G10 and plain satin blades. So not a whole lot of upcharge there. And there are other versions of this that sit at that $159 version, like the black bladed versions, for example. Really, really classy. Check it out. Speaking of classy, how about a new drop from Finch? This is the McCoy, and like every classic Finch, or at least kind of like what they're known for more than anything else, is classic vibes, classic patterns, kind of interpreted through a slightly more modern lens and built like a much more modern knife. This is, as mentioned, the McCoy. But $135 for this knife. You've got the Coca-Cola version, which I have here. You've got an ivory paper micarta, and an abalone version, which I think is an abalone veneer on top. Each of them just 135 bucks. Now, technically, these actually come out tomorrow, December 8th. So if you got your eye on this, keep an eye out tomorrow. You'll have to wait just a little less than 24 hours before these are available, but they're almost here. 2 3/4 inch Wharncliffe blade, 154 cm steel, a little bit on the stouter side, which should make this a little more robust for heavier work. If you consider any kind of sub 3 inch knife suitable for heavier work, maybe more resistant to abuse. We'll put it that way.
Okay.
Shall we? Yet still being a true Wharncliffe profile, you still have a very acute tip, which you should be able to control quite easily and pierce quite effectively with. Moving back onto the rest of the handle, we've got a milled pocket clip, stainless steel with an integral bolster at the back, glow-in-the-dark Finch shield on the front, and a liner lock holding the blade secure. Doesn't really, holds it a lot more secure than classic slip joint mechanisms, which most knives that look like this would come equipped with. Speaking of which, the flipper that this knife comes equipped with also flippers quite well. Check it out. Oh yeah, quite nice indeed. Classic looks, modern safety and convenience, even a halfway reasonable price. What's not to love? And last but not least, firmly down into the, really even into the stocking stuffer price range, we've got a new utility knife from Olight. This is the Otacle or Otacle. Still don't know how they're pronounced the word. I like Otacle. I think it sounds nice. This is the Otacle U1. There you go, right there. One could go that far. $24.99, and it is a crossbar locking utility knife blade holder. I mean, come on. I've been buying like a lot of utility knife blade holders this past year. I've been kind of, exploring that genre more and more. And a crossbar lock is my, pretty much my favorite lock. So this is kind of like made for me. I'm gonna have to buy one, aren't I? Probably.
Already have.
Comes with a standard utility style blade included. No tool required to change it. You've got a locking wheel here. I say locking wheel, it's essentially a actual just screw running through. So remove the screw and you'll be able to switch out the blade, no problem. It is equipped with a deep carry pocket clip to keep it nice and out of the way. It is not reversible, unfortunately, which would have been nice since, of course, the lock and the thumb studs are completely ambidextrous. But in any case, carbon fiber handles. The weight overall is not aggressive, 2.3 ounces, so pretty darn easy to carry. Decent enough grip. It's kind of a 3-finger grip, and because most of the edge of the utility knife blade is exposed, you don't have a opportunity to choke up and get all 4 fingers on it unless you have 4 really small fingers. So that's something to consider if you anticipate using your utility knife blade such. Keep that in mind. But the action, it's a crossbar lock, and it does the crossbar lock thing pretty much perfectly. Really cool. I hope we see more crossbar locking utility knife blade holders out there, but as of right now, this might be the first. It's the first one I've become aware of in any case. Check them out. We got a lot of new Olight releases as well this time of year, but I probably could have put just as many new Olights on the table as I did knives this week. So we'll content ourselves with showing the utility knife and linking to the Olight brand down below. That's all we've got for this week. Thanks for sticking around. Let me know what you thought down in the comment section. And to get your hands on any of these, follow the links in that description to take you to KnifeCenter.com. And don't forget about our long-running Knife Rewards program, because whether you're giving yourself or someone else something this time of year, it's really cool to earn some free money to spend on a future knife. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera. We're signing off. See you next time.